Namaste, I'm Nona Deprez, European Union Ambassador to Nepal. Happy International Women's Day to all. The theme for this year's International Women's Day is Digital, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. And that is why I'm very happy to be here today with Neha Gauchan, Program Coordinator at Body and Data. Body and Data is a digital rights organization based in Kathmandu that aims to enhance understanding and access to information on digital rights amongst women, queer people and marginalized groups in Nepal. We need to involve women in the digital revolution that is shaping our societies because their lack of inclusion comes with massive costs. All too often, women are left behind as a result of the digital gender divide, where women do not have the necessary skills and lack access to new technologies. And yet also, advancements in digital technology offer immense opportunities to address development and humanitarian challenges and to achieve the 2030 Agenda's Sustainable Development Goals. The need for inclusive and transformative technology and digital education is therefore crucial for a sustainable future. And that is why the European Union has recently adopted a Declaration on Digital Rights and Principles, which will guide the European Union in promoting an inclusive, prosperous and sustainable society online and offline. So Neha Gauchan, Body and Data's work and advocacy focuses on feminist principles of the Internet. Can you expand on what that means and how the organization has worked with this principle?
Thank you so much, Nona, for having me here to talk about feminist principles on the internet. In short, we can also call it FPI, or in Nepali we call it Feminist in the Internet ka Siddhantaharu. These are like guiding principles that envisions a feminist internet, and there are various principles within the FPI. There are altogether 17 principles, and under like various themes to which Body and Data also works, and our core working areas and issues are like digital access, and then we have privacy, data privacy, online violence, and freedom of expression online. And to really talk about how FPI and the work at Body and Data is connected is also the people and the perspectives that we bring in, that is mostly bringing in the experiences and conversations of women, marginalized populations, LGBTQIA people's voices at the center of our conversation and of our work. Similarly, there are issues of freedom of expression, where we also focus mostly on sexual expression online, because these conversations are not really talked about. There are taboos talking about sex and sexuality, especially in a Brahminical patriarchal society like Nepal. So these are conversations that we really bring forward. So these are various ways where we integrate feminist principles of the internet with our work and advocacy at Body and Data.
Thank you, Neha. European Union also very strongly believes in the importance of building an inclusive and accessible digital public space that unites rather than divides people. So indeed, the first principle of the EU Declaration on Digital Rights and Principles is to put precisely people at the center. So Neha, also given your work on digital activism and inclusion in Nepal, what, in your view, are really the challenges for women and marginalized groups in the digital space, and how can access to digital opportunities be increased?
A lot of discussions that we have when we talk about digital rights is it's less talked about through the lens of digital presence or digital agency or digital autonomy of individuals like women, marginalized populations. Oftentimes, like the narrative that's set around in our society and which is also reflected in the digital world is that we should protect women, or the internet is a dangerous place, so we should protect like queer folks online or marginalized populations online. And this kind of gives us the idea that internet is a dangerous space and that we should not go there, But at Body and Data, we really argue and counter this narrative by saying that no, like this is a space that we create, like it's it's by tech giants, yes, by the people who dominate the space, but we have that power to exercise our rights in the digital spaces. So that's like an opportunity that we really see. These challenges come in a lot of layers. For example, there are like gatekeepers in the society, like, gatekeepers, but there are also gatekeepers within the digital space. For example, like if women and queer folks or marginalized persons, they express their opinions online, then they are targeted or attacked for their opinions. And rather than their opinions itself, they are targeted for their bodies, or they are subjected to sexualization or harassment or even objectification. So these are some challenges. But if you really look at the another layer, which is like from the state, or state, like the state in itself acts as a gatekeeper, like socially policing through various laws and policies that govern our society. For example, like at Body and Data, we did this research on mapping laws relevant to online violence, where we review and analyze various laws in Nepal. And in one of the laws, which is Electronic Transaction Act, which was passed in 2008, here the expression which are especially sexual in nature, these are criminalized, even if it is done by individuals' own choice or with their own consent. And because these expressions of sexual nature are like often termed as like quote unquote like obscene, or immoral to the society. So even if individuals do this with their consent and in private, these are often criminalized, and these laws do not acknowledge consent. And I think this unrecognition of such aspects really is a challenge to women and queer folks who want to explore themselves online and take up the space. So I think these are some of the nuances and struggles that we continue to face.
So Neha, with the dominance, as you said, of big players on social media and the opaqueness of algorithms pushing certain content, what do you feel is the most urgent threat to women's rights? And how can we combat it to promote a more democratic digital environment?
I think like the algorithm, like how it really works is like it has a real power for the flow of information or exchange of ideas within the social media and the online world. And like if we really look at algorithm is not just a technical aspect of the digital space, but it's really connected to our societies, to how certain contents are pushed for amplification or certain contents are suppressed, right? I think the influence that these algorithms have really determines like who gets the power to exercise what is right on the internet and what is not right. In order to combat these threats that we are talking about, because we are actually challenging the big tech companies, challenging how the algorithms work, and the onus and the responsibility does not only lie within an individual, within the women or within queer person or within marginalized groups, but state, not state actors, tech companies, those who design all these algorithms, they are to be kept accountable as well. And I think that's how we create more digital opportunities and spaces for people and individuals.
Yeah, indeed. As you say, these algorithms, and particularly modern machine learning, they can really pose significant risks if they are deployed and managed without due care. And they can amplify harmful biases that lead to discriminatory decisions or unfair outcomes. And these, again, can reinforce inequalities. However, I would like to end on more positive opportunities that the online space holds for women. Through the European Union's digital strategy and sustainable growth, the European Union seeks to ensure women's equal access to the untapped potential of digital technologies and build an online space that is inclusive, respectful, and empowering. So Neha, can you maybe share some of your personal or organizational observations on stories of empowerment in the digital space?
Talking about stories of opportunity, stories of resistance, we see that women, those who are at the margins, are not just like passive recipients of the internet. Like they do take that ownership, they take agency on that internet space to co-create, to create contents, to share expressions online, to share about, to build community, to gain solidarity, and to connect with people as well. So that's a possibility that we see. They shared that they find community within the space. They shared that they exercise anonymity, which oftentimes they are not able to do so in the offline spaces. Through anonymity, they can exercise freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, especially on topics which are tabooed in society like ours, such as addressing heteronormativity or patriarchy or ableism or sexism online. And I think the possibility that we see is that despite the structural inequalities, despite the tech designs which are not inclusive and accessible for all, despite the people who hold so much power within these structures, there's still a possibility to reimagine internet, to reimagine a feminist internet which is safe, just, accessible, and equal for all.
Thank you so much, Neha Gauchan, Program Coordinator at Body and Data, for this important conversation at the occasion of this year's International Women's Day, Digital, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality.